Last week, we started our journey in the concept of character. Today, we take that facet a step further as we break down the essentials of protagonists and antagonists. In the previous video, we talked about a character's connection to the story's theme. With that in mind, here are the two key factors in creating a strong hero for your story. 1. The main character must be your most interesting, and 2. They must be the strongest argument for your theme. Here is what I mean by both. In days long ago, movies, television, and some books told us we had to care about the protagonist simply because he or she was the main character. They were the ones we followed. Their perspective dictated our understanding of the world and the plot. Nowadays, the audience rightfully demands a little more. It's not enough to just have a fully developed character. The audience should want to know more about the hero at every turn, and the more they learn, the more interested they become. A great character study is seen in Michael Scott from The Office. Dwight, Jim, and Pam are all interesting characters in their own right, but Michael holds a level of complexity that supersedes them all. It wasn't just his humor and leadership mentality the show lost after 7 seasons. They lost their most interesting character as well. To the second point, the protagonist must be the strongest arguer of your theme. In war epics, the hero is usually the only one who believes the true moral code and sets out to change a morally inept world. In tragedies, the hero is commonly at odds with the moral theme, and their lack of acceptance leads to either death or destruction. In either case, we as the audience learn a dire life lesson through the actions and consequences of the hero. So let's start from the ground up. Here, we expand on an idea touched on in the last video: the lie the hero believes, otherwise known as the Great Flaw. Given that the hero must be thematically relevant, this flaw must be tied into the theme in some way. Say your theme is about destruction through the obsession of dreams. Through thematic construction, that main character should be an artist, say, a writer in Hollywood. However, our hero should be a starving artist, and not because he hasn't caught a break. It's because he's lazy. He's so fixated on his dreams of success that he dispenses with any sense of responsibility outside of his own desires. This right here outlines an interesting character whose flaw is not only physical, but also psychological. This is the basis of any morality, a psychological belief system that manifests in the physical. Now, for those that have seen Sunset Boulevard, I'm sure you're thinking that Jo isn't half as interesting as Norma Desmond. Don't worry, I'll come back to her in a second. There is no denying, though, that Jo is a perfect illustration of the theme. Sunset Boulevard was a combination of dark comedy, romance, and tragedy all in one. The best way to handle this genre mixing while delivering a powerful theme was through a hero that deliberately chose a lie over the truth until it was too late. Jo's character arc amounts to nothing, just like his vapid dreams. Now let me touch on the second part of the hero's great flaw. We need to know why they believe this lie, and what forces them to change. What circumstances have nurtured the protagonist to be the way they are? What series of conflicts challenges their belief system to the point where they choose to adapt in order to survive? These are the two most important questions to answer when dealing with the great flaw. This brings us to the second half of this topic, the antagonist. The villain is always the main drive behind the conflict of the story, regardless of its structure. Joseph Campbell's archetype descriptor for the antagonist is the shadow, because, in essence, that is what they should be, a shadow of the hero. If we're building the protagonist out of the theme, it only makes sense to do the same with the antagonist. The hero and villain are ultimately after the same thing in your story. They just go about different ways of getting it. These diverging paths are commonly visualized through moral means. This is Indiana Jones and Bellick, both after the Ark of the Covenant. This is George Bailey and Mr. Potter, fighting over the soul of Bedford Falls. This is Magneto and Professor X, championing for the liberties of mutants. The villain is a portrayal of the hero had they gone a different route to achieve their goals. In some cases, this change of course allows the villain to acquire traits and make choices that are more compelling than that of their counterpart. This is how we come up with iconic villains like Norma Desmond, Darth Vader, Gollum, and Joker. Another dynamic that has increased in popularity in recent years is the trick of likability by comparison. Virtually every character in A Song of Ice and Fire is detestable by human standards, yet by placing virtue-seeking individuals beside blatantly immoral villains, they, by comparison, seem heroic. Breaking Bad meticulously highlights the positive aspects of their protagonist drug dealers, while simultaneously highlighting the negative qualities of the righteous and law-abiding citizens around them. I'll wrap this video up by ending with a note on how you can use multiple villains to argue your theme. Recently, I used Jurassic Park as an example of thematic opposition through character. Here, I'll focus on The Dark Knight. The theme is the evil inside humanity, exploring whether this darkness is learned or programmed in. Batman is the war epic hero, trying desperately to save his city, while not being corrupted by the weight of his task. Joker has given in to his demons, believing his purpose is to provoke the civilized world to do the same. Harvey Dent is their game piece, a moral man of the law who becomes corrupted by the evils around him. Maroni is Dent's shadow, a crime boss whose lawlessness has limits when faced with chaos. Finally, we have Rachel Dawes and Alfred Pennyworth, who challenge Bruce and Dent by being their moral compasses. These opposing perspectives and roles clash until the final confrontation, where Joker's last card up his sleeve is played and the truth comes out. Constructing your heroes around these guidelines still allows a vast amount of room for character traits, personalities, hobbies, and details to be filled in through your imagination. Batman may not have given us the hero we deserve, but you most certainly can.